Hey guys, James Wilson-Taylor here for Roxanne. We are backstage at When We Were Young Festival 2023, Sum 41 on the lineup, and Deryck joins me now. How are you, man?
Good. We just got off stage. Great.
Feeling good?
I'm feeling good, yeah.
Nice.
The sun was like right in our face the whole time.
Dude.
So that made it a little difficult, but it was great.
Yeah, you're professionals. You can power through that. I'm sure
mean,
it's difficult.
all those years in the Warped Tour, sun
This is
in our
it.
face.
There's a bit of that vibe today. I mean, my God, the heat is no joke out there today. I will say that's a fair play to you. But no, it's a lovely vibe. I mean, the audience are so hyped for it. I'm sure there were so many of your fans in particular out there today who've been waiting for this one. I mean, it's got to feel great to be out there in front of those crowds again, right?
It felt amazing, yeah. I mean,
awesome.
It was one of those. I mean, the whole show was great. The crowd was great. I really, I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah. I mean, also, it's so nice to be back here with some new music as well, of course. I mean, let's get into that single because what an absolute banger, my friend. What seriously, I mean, I know we've known there was the two sides to this album for a minute, but to come out swinging with a classic pop-punk track like that, I mean, so great. Tell me a little bit about writing that one and when it kind of came together for you.
I mean, that came a few years ago, and it was kind of by accident, and I wasn't really writing, or I didn't think I was writing music for Sum 41. It was kind of at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was getting asked to write for other artists. And
interesting.
Like other managers and labels were hitting us up and saying, "Can you write some songs?" And I was like, "I don't really have any, but let me think about it." So I started collecting some songs just in case I was going to work for other people. And when I had about 7 songs, I was like, I like all of these.
Right.
I don't know what I would do with them because we haven't done pop punk in 16, 17 years.
Sure.
So I didn't necessarily think they were for Sum 41, but I didn't want to give them away. And then as I wrote more and collected more songs, I started to realize that we actually have 2 albums here, a heavy side and a pop punk side, and it just kind of all came together naturally.
Yeah. Did you have any artists particularly in mind then? When you weren't thinking it was for Sum 41, was there an artist in mind you were thinking, oh, I might write something pop punk with them in mind to maybe perform it?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, we were getting hit up quite a bit. It felt like almost like every week. At the beginning of the pandemic, like, I think nobody knew what to do, and everyone was like, oh my God, we got time to work on music. So I just kept getting a call like every week, like some artists I'd heard of, some I'd never heard of, or managers were just like, well, you work with some of our artists, and so I just started collecting songs.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, and with Landmines as well, did that always feel like this has to be the first taste of this record for the people?
It was one of the first songs I wrote when I started this little, experiment of writing pop punk stuff. And I felt right away there was something special about it. And as more songs came in, that one just stayed as like, it still feels like the first song of the pop punk songs.
Yeah.
There's other stuff, like there's a lot heavier stuff, like what we do in our past few records, that there's some stuff on there that I think is some of our best heavy stuff that I would put out as a single too, but we went with the pop punk one first.
Yeah. It's nice to give people a taste of that side of it as well, because also it's, like you say, it's a sound that you've not dabbled in for a minute, but
like
it's nice to come
17 years or 16 years,
so
something like that.
wild to think. It's crazy. Did it feel like when you're writing that pop punk record in general then, did you just slip back into that kind of mindset, that kind of sound?
Well, you know what happened? It was funny. It's like, I have to kind of give credit to my son because he was born at the beginning of the lockdown, like a week before the lockdown. So when there was nothing to do and we had to get out of the house, all we could do was drive around, and he would cry, and he's a newborn. The only thing that stopped him from crying was when I would put on like old school, I wouldn't call it old school, my old school, like my high school punk rock stuff.
Oh, wow.
So all like the early 90s, mid 90s punk rock stuff, No Effects, Strung Out, Lagwagon, Bad Religion, and Pennywise, like all that kind of stuff. He loved that stuff. And I hadn't even really listened to that in a while. So I made a playlist of all my old favorite songs, and it was like an hour and a half long. And that's what we would drive around listening to. So once I was like back into that music that I listened to when I wrote All Killer and Does This Look Infected, songs started to come out that felt like that. It was a funny experiment.
That's so interesting, man. But yeah, what an interesting way to kind of find your way back.
I felt like
I
all of a sudden was like, my mind wanted to write songs the way I used to.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah, it's an interesting experiment, particularly when you guys have, you've spread your wings in all kind of manner of areas very successfully, I might add. So it's kind of cool to, with this project, I suppose, as a whole, to be able to kind of play with two sides of a couple of aspects of what you've been doing.
Well, like I said, once we had enough songs, all of a sudden I'd written 10 pop punk songs, and there was like 7 heavy songs. I'm like, we only need 3 more heavy songs, and we got 20 songs for a double album.
What a cool idea as well to do a double album as well, because like, it's interesting how a lot of bands, it's like, oh, we want to do standalone singles now, which I think works very well as well. But like, I'm an album guy, and I love when bands say, no, we want to do a double album, but not just a double album, with a concept like this, and we can call it a concept, right? If two sides are split in that way, it is a concept in that way. It's a daunting project, but like, fair play to you attempted. Was it something you'd always kind of eyed of like, oh, one day I'd quite like to do a double album, or was it just circumstance that kind of dictated it?
It was by accident, but we did talk about doing a double album at one point. Like when we made Underclass Hero, which was like the last pop punk thing we ever did, we were talking about a double album back then, but we just abandoned it. But then, you know, with this album, for us, like you say, it's like a concept, which I never really thought of it as a concept album, but I guess in a way it is, because it's two separate sounds. They're two totally different albums. It's not like, oh, hey, we have 20 songs we just think are so good that we have to put them all on one album. It's 10 songs that are one style, 10 songs that are totally opposite.
Yeah, that's great. And in terms of where we're at with it, I mean, I know you won't give too much away in terms of promo plans or rollout plans or whatever, but is it done?
Oh,
is
yeah,
it done?
It's,
It's properly fully finished now. Wow.
Mixed and mastered, ready to go.
Awesome.
It's been like that for a while. I think we're just figuring out when to put it out. We had to figure out like what label we were going to sign to, which we recently signed to Rise BMG. So now that's sorted. We did the first song, the first video, and we're now working on what's going to be the second song, you know, all that kind of stuff.
It's exciting times ahead. It really, really is. Right, before I let you go, a couple of questions I've been asking everybody here today I've got to throw at you. So my standard festival question, but on this lineup it makes sense. Dream collab out of the people who are here today. Is there anyone you've not worked with that's here on this lineup today you think, oh, that'd be a great person to work with?
There's bands that I like and respect, but do we really need to do a song together? I don't know.
Yes, you do. I'm saying you do, Deryck. Yes. Who would you love to work?
For me, we're not really like it's not like I've really collaborated with a lot of people, but I mean, I liked the collaborations that we've done that were like, we worked with Ludacris. We worked with Iggy Pop. Like stuff that's different, like us and say like Good Charlotte, who are like great friends of ours. I don't know if we're going to really step out and do something that's
I get that. Yeah. I get what you mean. It's nice, nice to have like something that can actively bounce off each other in that way. I totally get that. That makes sense. There's a few of those kicking around today. I could see that. Well, the other question is, I mean, two of the greatest pop punk bands of all time are at the top of this bill. I know you will agree with that. I've been asking everyone, let's go best Blink song, best Green Day song. I know, right? Tough choices, but let's go with it.
Geez, I don't know. I'm gonna go with like first tracks off albums. And I'm not a very good like song title. You know, remembering song titles, especially these days. Yeah, it's a lot more difficult when you don't have the artwork anymore. But I'll go Burnout, Green Day, and Anthem. I think it has a part 2.
Part 2, you go part 2, absolutely. Yeah, part 3 on that new record as well. They're continuing the tradition. The Offspring just walked in. Man, this is the thing. It has the Warped Tour vibe because there's just so many old friends. Like, I've had bands say like they've not done this many hugs in a long time.
Totally.
Yeah. It's that kind of vibe. I'm going to let you go. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy tomorrow as well, but we need to catch up around this album, man. I'm really excited for it. All the best.
Yeah, it should be out sometime in hopefully the early new year.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's what I think. That's the plan, you know.
Good stuff. Big 2024 ahead. That's really exciting to hear. Right? All right, Deryck, everybody.